This month, we are excited to have Miles Tinsley of Clevu here to share with us some great strategies on how to implement good search on your website. We actually have Miles and Clevu to thank for starting this meetup years ago, and Miles is sharing a lot of insight in this presentation that you can implement in your search strategy, regardless of whether you use on-site search, Clevu, or some other provider. If you've not already subscribed, be sure to subscribe and hit the like button here on this episode. Now we're going to get into the presentation.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Atlanta meetup. I am thrilled to be discussing the usability, accessibility, and simplicity of how to utilize search to create a top-notch shopping experience. My name is Miles Tinsley, and I'm the head of sales at Clevu. Clevu is a on-site search technology specifically built to provide a better search experience for shopping online. I've had the privilege of working with some of the top household names in online retail and advise them how to best optimize their on-site search and navigation experience across any device or every device, and that is what we will be discussing today. To set the agenda for this particular talk, number one, setting the scene. What is the true opportunity in search, and why is it so important to prioritize search really as a simple way to increase sales overnight? Next, I want to discuss the importance of the placement and the positioning of search in your search bar, even the placeholder text on your site, and how data can help drive this decision in more detail. Creating a predictive search experience that drives speed to purchase. Those who are searching have the highest intent to buy. We're all busy these days, so it's extremely important that the shopping experience across search and navigation is very seamless, very easy, all the way through checkout to help increase conversions on your online store. Accessibility and usability around ADA compliance and WCAG compliance is becoming increasingly important for every site online, specifically for online retail. And then lastly, we will discuss how you should incorporate personalization and simple merchandising methods into your daily business strategy to optimize the experience for each of your shoppers and your customers. So as we dive into the opportunity for search, specifically in the mid-market space, site search is an area of your store that's frequently undervalued and underutilized, representing a very valuable and quick opportunity to understand, number one, what users are looking for, promote the right products, and help speed up the purchase journey. Many enterprise retailers have entire teams focused on just optimizing the search. However, it seems so far often to be left on the table for smaller and mid-sized e-commerce teams. When I first volunteered to have this talk, I decided to update an old analysis we've done in the past around the importance and the usage of search for SMB and mid-market retailers. In particular, I pulled up the stat too soon, but in particular, a recent study, we looked at the hard data from 24 of our clients, full calendar year 2019, that fell into a few different verticals: fashion, beauty, home goods, and outdoor. And here are a few stats of our findings that I think are extremely interesting. Number one, 5.24% of users who completed a search accounted for 17% of the overall online revenue. Number two, the average conversion rate was 5.58%, which is 4 times the conversion rate of standard navigation. So someone just clicking on a category, clicking on a subcategory, clicking on a product, checking out, the average conversion rate was 4 times the rate of standard navigation. Mobile was even higher if search was in a very prominent location on mobile. And then lastly, fashion and beauty brands definitely kind of stood out in this test, especially if you have a fashion or beauty brand over 1,000 SKUs with higher traffic. where you saw a significant amount of that traffic utilizing search conversion rate than any other vertical that we looked at. So there's literally no question that consumers who are searching have more intent or even know exactly what they're looking for. But we also found that when working with the clients to increase the usage of search, there was an incremental uplift in just total revenue. So we took this to a second test with two particular customers, and both generated more revenue from the increase in just having more users engage in search. The first method that was used was looking deep into the placement, into the positioning of where the search bar was located, which brings me into my second point. So if search is a performant user journey for you and you have a good overall experience, one thing we usually suggest is trying to increase the prominence of your search box, search bar, search box, however you call it. This tells the users that you are recommending them to use search as the primary form of navigating through the site. In terms of design and implementation, there are multiple ways to visibly either subdue or to emphasize the search field in your overall layout. The exact method to employ will of course vary from site to site, depending greatly on the context of the search field appears of the overall design. So let's look at a couple different examples. Number one, we want to show you SureFit, Shopify brand. They offer an example of a more, what I call a dominating search field that really nudges the user towards adopting search as their primary product finding strategy. So think Amazon, we go straight to the search bar on Amazon. So given the size of SureFit and their size of their product catalog and the type of products they carry, this really seemed to be the sensible design choice. And again, they've done a lot of testing on this, right? So really A/B testing and looking at the data, looking at the usage of how many people know what they're looking for versus how many are navigating to try to find products maybe they saw on another website. The next is the sports edit. The sports edit search field actually stands out a little bit more, but with no clear preference between search and category browsing. They are equally prominent on the page. This is likely a function of some users knowing exactly the item they want, so search preference, while others just know the type of product they're interested in and want to browse the catalog first using category navigation as their present. So again, very similar into the positioning, but look how SureFit is much more standoutish rather than sports edit. So it's there for sports edit if you need it, if you want it, and it still showcases that they have trust and confidence in their search so that you can really find what they're looking for no matter the complexity of the search query, which we'll get into more detail. Next is through mobile. The biggest uplifts we've seen through the optimization of search has come from mobile users, where there's a much bigger impact on the user journey in terms of speed and the number of steps. So we're pretty much bought into the concept of improving search and encouraging more users to use search for the average retailer will definitely deliver an incremental increase in conversion rates. One example is Homage. Homage recently relaunched their website. I've worked with them for the past couple of years now, and they put a lot of emphasis on their site search. The main reason is they know that people who search convert higher and have a higher average order value. So not just revenue and just the larger number, but even just average order value is much higher than standard category navigation. So a part of that focus was on the mobile UX. They felt search was a much cleaner user journey than navigating through the categories, and overall, it just performed better for them. So in particular, Homage saw a 23% increase in site revenue contribution through search and a 5% increase in average order value, 30% increase in just new users from sessions with search. So overall, across the board, they saw an incremental increase just for implementing a more prominent search bar and using search as really that dominant force of interaction and navigation on the site. Um, and this is also just an example with Bulletproof. Again, they were very much focused on really the prominence of their search, very similar to Homage. So the next slide that I wanted to highlight, in addition to kind of the placement and the positioning, is something very simple that a lot of people overlook, is the placeholder text in search. It's an important, that I highlight how to optimize something that, again, is just so overlooked, but yet so simple. Optimizing the placeholder text to encourage much more detailed queries, right? So let's get beyond just the generic terms. Let's just get more detailed so that if we have a particular color or size or particular type of clothing, whether it be hoodie or jacket with a hood or half zip, you're able to really type in those detailed queries and really encourage your users to do that through the placeholder text. So two routes you can go down here. If you're trying to encourage the user to be more descriptive with queries, or to either suggest things to include within the query, or reference an example query that's more detailed, such as could be Adidas 2020 Ultra Boost men's shoes or trainers. Apparel brand Homage is one of my favorite examples, as I showed you earlier. They actually taking this descriptive message a much further, with the end of the query having kind of a rotated message of college, sports, city, and team. This is a very original approach, and it just shows you what types of products or the verticals of products they carry, where it's not just a team or it's not just a college, but it could be NFL, it could be pro. So there's a lot more details when it comes to the ideas of a consumer having that confidence in what they're searching for. So just to highlight on a couple quick tips here that we always give to give clients. And give to anyone that we're speaking with in reference to optimizing their search. Number one, based on what we just talked about, number one is rely on the data to direct how prominent your search bar should be. Could be the catalog size. If you're in B2C, if you're mainly B2B, what's your search count per month? What's your search count, different months and seasonality? Very important to just rely on that data and the analytics of search to really navigate that decision for you. Test the flow of search on mobile versus standard navigation on mobile, right? Which is easier, which cleaner, what's going to get me to the checkout faster, right? What's more important? Understanding that flow from search versus the flow of standard navigation. If it's easier to make a search query to get to that product, think about adding your search bar in a more prominent location on mobile rather than potentially stuck behind the hamburger navigation at the top corner, or not even having a search in general, especially if your consumers come, let's say, straight for Instagram, for an example, and know exactly which product they want. And then lastly, look at the inspiration for replacing your current placeholder text that will entice more users to use search and give them more ideas on what to search for and how to search and have that confidence to search really what they're thinking. So next is to cover how to create a predictive autocomplete search experience. So adding a clean JavaScript autocomplete overlay has really become the norm these days, with most serious e-commerce sites using these JS or JavaScript templates to speed up the process and counter mistakes from consumers who use search. These days, the format and content types have gotten a lot richer, which most overlays offering product results, categories, and keyword suggestions instead of just regular keywords or no drop down at all. This example of an autocomplete overlay from Bulletproof is definitely one of my favorite. Features a product grid, which is a set of a couple things: content results, and then suggestions for keywords and categories. There are various reports on how autocomplete UI should be designed, but overall, most of our clients serve product results, and search suggestions with this particular case creates a very clean experience that doesn't require access to even go to a search results landing page. Other customers that we've seen in the past build on this and add things like content results. As you can see here, they have separate blog content or recipes or guides that can direct them to, contact us, delivery information, all within the search. And again, the same experience in my view is even more important on mobile, right? So this example is with two sites. Number one is sciencemuseumandmade.com, and they have clearly highlighted a mobile-friendly experience as someone someone is engaging in search. You want to make sure consumers can, number one, see what they're typing on a mobile device. There's been a lot of times where you search and it's kind of hidden behind the keypad, or it's just not mobile friendly to even see the products that you're searching for. Number two, do not get distracted by other third-party technologies that interfere with the actual experience, which is a welcome pop-up or chat window. So if you have a welcome pop-up, make sure it's easy, accessible, that doesn't pop up as you're typing in something. Make sure it's before or after, or it's waited a little bit, so that as someone is engaging in your site, this pop-up does not distract them. It could even be a chat bot, right? Where you might see a chat window populate where you can't see products because it's hidden behind that chat window. That can be distracting as well. And then also just show clear headers and sections throughout the search, such as popular searches, suggestions, products, categories. So if it's a broad term, they might want to click into a category. It's a very specific term where only one product shows up. They can go directly to the product, check out, and then be about their business. So those are the types of things you want to look for around the user experience when it comes to mobile and even desktop search. We also often suggest adding key content links in the overlay. So similar to what I talked about earlier around blogs, to make them easier to access and counter any issues if you're not indexing or serving CMS pages, but users are still searching for them. This is another Shopify example with a company called VH3. This search overlay is a good example of showing the importance of static content in the search overlays, such as order status, shipping and returns, and contact us, and also as redirect links. So you can easily just go to the order status page and go directly to that particular link. Using an autocomplete overlay or serving results in this way can help to increase the speed of the user seeing the results and ultimately getting through the PDP considerably much quicker. With this is widely now considered best practice. There's also a lot of really great content. The Bateman Institute released a really strong additional source of insight on this and how this should be structured when it comes to having certain links populate within search. So to recap, here are a few quick tips you can do today to improve the experience. Number one, have a maximum of 10 total suggestions, as any more can contribute confusion to the customer. Include category and CMS suggestions that are relevant to the specific query. Avoid scroll bars, especially if they are hard to find. Try and highlight active suggestions. Make the overlay visually appealing. Don't hide that behind the hamburger navigation. And lastly, reduce the distraction from other third-party technologies that you may have, on the site. So to jump into the next slide, accessibility and usability. These can be scary topics, but it's becoming more and more important to really implement this into your business. Very, very important that you take close attention to, what other businesses are doing, read up on accessibility, read up on ADA compliance. And so just to go into this a little bit more, accessibility has just becoming very important topic, specifically in e-commerce over the last few years, due to developments in tooling for disabled users and increased governance around, again, ADA compliance and WCAG compliance. Search is an area of an e-commerce site that can often be a non-compliant with accessibility standards. So that's why this is important to us. With both the predictive search layout and the overlay, and even with the search results page, frequently powered by third-party technology because they are not being picked up by certain scanners as a result of our external self-hosted JavaScript. So some of the key considerations for accessibility that impact search include predictive search overlays should always have a clear close, or exit button that can be selected by the use of a tab key, right? So everything from your keyboard or your keypad easily being the exit out of search is very important. The search bar and all buttons should be clearly labeled. Excuse me. All aspects of search should be compatible with screen readers. Again, when you read up on ADA compliance and WC, you'll see and hear and read a lot about screen readers, and allow for the usage of zooming in and zooming out. All items within both the overlay and on the results page should contain alt text and labels. That's pretty standard. And then the same core requirements also apply to third-party search solutions, such as contrast of text. You should also be looking to avoid any small text that is hard to see and hard to find. So that, again, very, very important to understand the accessibility, especially when it comes to being ADA compliant. And then next is usability. So a couple of things on optimizing the usability of search, especially on mobile devices. If you're looking into increase the importance and prominence of search on mobile, or even if you're not, it's important to ensure it's extremely usable across all devices. So there are lots of things to think about here, but some of the key ones that we generally recommend are remove zooming on input field on relevant devices, search box for desktop, laptop, tablet, and mobile. Ensure you leave adequate spacing between results, all types of results for suggestions, categories, products. Always test with products with longer titles, as these can commonly cause layout issues. So again, if you have long titles in your product cards or in your descriptions, if those are being read within search, just make sure that that does not show confusion and cause layout issues when it comes to reading those on mobile devices. Ensure text and links aren't too small. Again, we talked about that. Usually suggest minimum size 14. Have a clear call to action to go to the search results landing page, such as like view all results. That way the tab can be selected, or it can be selected with your finger to be able to go to the view all setting on the search results. And then again, make sure the filtering on your search results landing page is optimized for mobile. So is it easily accessible? Where's the location of, if I want to filter down for my products, the spacing, just the overall ease of use, and make sure it's easy to filter and navigate as you're on a search results or even a collection page using the filtering mechanism. So as I already mentioned above, search represents a very key user journey for mobile, and it should be one, if not the highest converting journeys for conversion rate. So this is important to really get right. Our search result research shows that users who complete a search on mobile are nearly 400% more likely to convert, with some of that optimized search in retailers with larger catalogs, but nearly double that. So again, understanding how your mobile users are actually searching or checking out, how they're able to find products, the ease of finding products, being ADA compliant and usability compliant, again, is very important. So next is, let's talk about some key merchandising and some personalization tips that I think should be added to consumer sites and being able to manage those in the right way. So another area that is often really overlooked by users of premium search solutions or not is mainly merchandising, which again represents a big problem to highlight key products to users, particularly for higher volume generic queries. In the case of our clients, Clevu, and some other providers, machine learning is part of the core product and helps to surface products based on how they're performing. This is great, but there will always be instances where merchants want to highlight other items as they're more likely to deliver a longer term value, and they will result in a higher average order value or customer lifetime value. So overall, I would say that an optimal search function requires a balance of a mixture, if you will, of automated merchandising and boosting and manual intervention. This allows for a level of your own business logic that fits your needs and the retailer's needs. A part of this, we usually suggest Clevu users build the following into their ongoing merchandising strategy. Number one, ensure that high volume generic keywords have some level of manual merchandising. to allow for key products, new products, or more lucrative products beyond machine learning factors to get maximum exposure. This would likely change on a weekly basis. So again, always identify what are the top most frequently searched keywords on my site and set some sort of manual merchandising so that it's always going to display those types of top products. Another one is ensure some of those key products are boosted globally. These items should have a global boost that ensures they're always prominent for certain or relevant search queries. This may be changed at different times of the year or regularly depending on the type of business. So it could be seasonality, where you have certain products that are always bestsellers during certain months to go ahead and promote, or I call them to pin those products at the top of the search results. Same thing with more of a larger scale. So merchandising key groups of products, make sure those are boosted globally. Boost key groups of products. You can use this by tags or in collections is based on demand, seasonality, etc. to improve performance. This is a case of Roulette.com where they boosted all new arrivals section within their site as well. And so also, I think it's important to reduce the visibility of underperforming products, especially low margin items or even items that have some stock issues or are always out of stock. If you have items that aren't performing or less likely to perform now, like key sizes are always out of stock, these should be manually negated or negated based on a particular rule. It's just easy for you to manage, especially if you have a lot more than the two from this example from Manjuka. It's good to be able to automatically have these products deboosted off of certain mechanisms, stock quantity. Shopify Flow has some really neat ideas that can create tags off of low stock and low inventory quantity. So it's important just to understand, those types of products that should be deboosted during certain times. But of course, as you get more in stock and as you bring these back up, that merchandising can be boosted back into the top of the search results. And so also, I like to recommend having some common redirects and synonyms for particular queries. So if you have collections or categories and content where you feel a curated content page or PLP will perform better, you should test this by applying a redirect or listing the page in the autocomplete dropdown in search results. So some redirect ideas are sell, contact us, new and return. Also, our average client will check error queries weekly and either merchandise the results, create custom messaging, or even apply synonyms. An idea would be to look at what products are yielding no results and apply those to test synonyms. So if you have products or certain queries where it could be socks, but you don't sell socks, be able to maneuver those into other sections and other product ideas, or it could also give you your next product launch idea. I think that's pretty cool. And so always be on the lookout for these types of queries and for this types of merchandising strategy to help. And then I would say also look at custom messaging for key error queries. It's pretty common how often I will see if there's some no results found or if there's a message where I'm not able to find results, how just generic and plain and ugly the message is if there's no products to be displayed. So it's really important, and I always recommend at least serving some sort of suggestions or have a design on no results found pages or error pages or really any sort of page where it yields no results to make sure it's filled with prominent suggestions. A great example of something that we don't like versus something that we do like with UpWest, .com, where they show suggestions off of error queries. It's just a good way to really show to the consumer that you have a good user experience, even though they're not able to find what they're looking for off of that particular search query. And then I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but lastly, Shopify Flow can automate some of these tasks for you. This is particularly for, again, the Shopify platform. An example for you to restock a product with a specific tag, then boost it by a certain score. You could also apply the same principle to reducing the visibility of item if a stock drops below a certain threshold. These certain methods can be used in other platforms, but just for the sake of this presentation, show you something that Shopify Flow can handle for any Shopify merchants listening in on this. Finally, personalizing the experience and the journey of your consumers across search and collection pages is vital to maintain that consistency. In this talk, I've mentioned a lot about key aspects of usability and UX, but personalization within search can greatly improve the overall performance and experience, delivering much more relevant products to individual users based on their site behavior. As with various other parts of e-commerce, product recommendations, on-site content, and other various forms of email, personalizing results based on key interactions previous and in real time, such as product clicks, categories visited, and filters used, would help to ensure that products being served or align with the interest of the particular user. And so this is really the end of the talk today. I have some takeaways that I just wanted to highlight here that I think are just really, really easy for you to take off this call and to really get started right away. Number one, on-site search should never be overlooked and needs to be a focus for your online business, right? So just start by reviewing the consumer behavior and how shoppers interact with your site, and that will determine how prominent your search bar should be. Creating a predictive search overlay, so the autocomplete, the quick dropout, will definitely speed up the purchase. We've done numerous tests on this, and this shows really the direction for your consumers to take as they start to type or search as you type without distracting and confusing the consumer with them being able to find exactly what they're looking for. Accessibility and usability is now more important than ever and really needs to be reviewed quarterly. I highly suggest just Googling ADA compliance and WCAG compliance for e-commerce and for retail. We have some blogs on our homepage that really help understand what this all means and how to adapt that to your website. Speak to your agencies and your developers. They will have that knowledge and intelligence to help you with this as well. So again, can't stress this enough on how important this is for the future of online businesses. And then lastly, really just make sure you're always testing different merchandising methods. Shopping patterns change. It changes per day, it changes per month, especially if your business is seasonal. Just always look at the data and understand and adapt to how your consumers are shopping per device, not globally, per device. So again, guys, thanks so much for joining me today. If you have any questions, you can always drop me an email. It's miles.tinsley@clevu.com. Thanks again, and have an awesome day. Talk to you soon.